How you doing, sir?
Just fine, thank you. And how are you?
I'm doing outstanding. Today's topic, I want to talk about abundant mindset. The scripture says, to him who has, more shall be given, but to him who has not in consciousness, even that which he or she has shall be taken away from him. What are your thoughts?
Well, it isn't even taken away, it's given away. I mean, that's what it is. We're all thinking ahead of our evidence. Start there. If you're thinking ahead of your evidence, what are you thinking about? Poverty or abundance? I mean, that's the message. As you think, you are. What are you thinking about? Generally, most of the time, feelingly. Because that's your world of everyday experiencing. Isn't that so?
It is so.
Attitude. What is your attitude about life in general? Because that's what you're going to experience. Exactly that. Whatever your attitudes are. Because it's all about man's attitude. Like I said, the great minds down through the centuries, all of them have agreed on one thing, that man's life is his attitude. Because you were given, and it's already a given, choose this day. And, hey, it's always this day. It's never a yesterday, it's never a tomorrow, it's always this day. Choose. Abundance. You're told choose, you're given a whatsoever to choose from, and you're told that if you will seek, you will find. Well, that's because what you're looking for is looking for you. And it was set up for you to be abundant. But you have the choice. And you can't blame anybody else if you're not making the right choices, can you?
You can't. And I often will say that God, Spirit, infinite intelligence, whatever you call that entity, is a lavish waster. And I say that when you look at nature, God doesn't just create one leaf on a tree. He creates billions of leaves on a tree. Would you agree?
Yes, and not only that, all of those billions of leaves are all different. Everything is a single. Well, man makes duplicates and duplicates, but God only makes a single, and that's you. There is an only begotten, and you are that only begotten. And they say, well, that's Jesus. Well, that's who you are. Face it. It is you. And what you're doing through choice is what he's following along with you as the power, making it so. So you do have a choice. You can choose better than the best, and then, well, just stand and see the victory, you're told. Because once you've given that message to God, that you already have it in heart, in mind, you have it. I think that says it, doesn't it?
It does. And I want to go back to what you said briefly about the only begotten. That's hard for many of us, especially for those of us who have been raised up in a religious upbringing, for example. To think of oneself as the only begotten, that's kind of out there. So what do you tell the listener?
That's it. It is out there. Until you feel after it, you'll find it. Look, it was left for you to find. He even gave you choice. So you can choose to look for it, and what you're looking for is looking for you. So you're on all the time. But choosing what? And someone says, well, what I'm choosing, what does that matter? It matters completely. It was God who gave you choose this day. And he didn't put any parameters on it. You have the ability to choose whatsoever. And certainly you can choose better than what you're doing. That's all that's necessary, because as you step, it's a self-in, self-and risen drama. In other words, you make little sessions, and then you get another one, and then another one. And as you grow, you outgrow. They say, I use that too, but it's not technically correct. you're dreaming the dream. This play of humanity is the self being pushed out into the world. So if you're looking at the world for help, that's too far. It's nearer to hands and feet. And you can use it all the time, anytime, every time, because it's right with you. I am with you always. I will never leave you. Omnipresent. What more do you need to know? Just practice it. So you can sit in the silence and know that I'm God. With you always, will never leave you. That's the story, isn't it?
That is the story. And I like that you said, if you're looking without, you're looking too far, because it is, in fact, nearer than hands and feet. And it's up to us, the individual, to go into the silence, as someone said in the on the YouTube channel. They said, it's not complicated. We all can go into the silence. That's true. We all can. But do we? And that's the challenge. So sometimes we need a little help getting there. And that's what these talks are about. Would you agree?
Yes. Look, you can think about anything you choose to think about. Well, why not choose to think about you in your dream being? And that's what you're here to do. You're here to do it and then witness to it. Isn't that what it is?
Absolutely.
It's that simple. You're here to do it yourself and then witness to it. And so as you're witnessing to it, you receive even more to witness to. And it goes on and on and on until you fully awaken. And you will at some point. But why wait? What are you waiting for? I did that. I waited and waited. I couldn't tell you. Even today, I couldn't tell you what it was I was waiting for, but I was waiting. And you don't get anything when you're waiting. It's when you reach the end of your own message that I am that, and understand that you are that. What you're thinking feelingly about, that's what you are. Change what you're thinking feelingly about, and you'll be that. It's that simple, isn't it?
It is. And I like that you said, we're here to receive, and once we receive it, to witness. And many of us, that's a challenge. You said you waited. And, of course, I know that I waited, because when you first receive it, a lot of times it's hard to understand what it is that you received. And so trying to communicate it to the without, to many people, we're going to sound crazy. And you have to continue on witnessing or telling your story until you find those who are to receive it from you. Because not everybody's going to receive it from you. Would you agree?
No. But the thing of it is that you're wired to know when you hear the truth.
Absolutely.
So listen intently, because you hear about this still small voice. See, that's why it comes that way, because it's not going to interrupt you. You have to claim that. That's your statement. You're claiming what you're doing, being, and having, or you're not, and then it's being chosen for you. So that's the story right there. You're either choosing or you're being chosen for. And that being chosen for can get rather sticky-wicked, wouldn't you say?
I would. And I will often say this, probably, whether we realize it or not, 90% plus, and I can go higher, but I'm going to stay at 90%. 90% of us are being chosen for, and we don't even realize that we're being chosen for, and we're wondering why we keep remaining in the cycle of something that we say that we don't like, for example. Would you agree?
That's it. The thing of it is, if you don't like it, you're given to change it. And the way you change it is as you think you are. In mind, I know it's only, as I said, a vegetable mind, but it can send and receive the message. And you're given to accept the message as it is stated to be all things to all. At one point, if you really focus on that, you'll get it. You'll get it, because what you're seeking for, that's what you're going to find, because that's what's looking for you. So it's a simple practice, but it must be done with the right feeling. In other words, I am that. And claim it. That's what God's telling you to do. Claim it. When you're asking, that's what you're asking for. But then once you've asked God, and he doesn't need any coaching from you. Would you say?
Absolutely. And you talked about claiming it. Once you say, I am that, whatever that thing is that you're operating from out of your feeling nature, then claim it by being it. And I say becoming, but the truth of the matter is you're being it. So as you are finding yourself experiencing from, thinking from, being it, that's your claim.
That's it. If you can feelingly say, I am that, it's yours. As a man thinketh in his heart. What is it? It's feeling nature. What do you really feel in your own heart? What do you think about morning, noon, and night? Is it progressive? Is it leading you where you want to go? If it isn't, why are you thinking it? The thing of it is that you're in control. Even if you're out of control, you're still the one choosing. And choosing what? I mean, just ask yourself, what am I choosing to think about? Is it leading me where I want to go? Fine. If it doesn't, drop it. Move on. Move up. You're looking for change, and you're told, change your mind, change your world. There it is. That's the change. And it's really that simple. And you don't have to be anyone special, but you are. You are special to God. You may not be to someone around you, but to God, you're special. And he wants to know what you want, because he wants to give you what you want. But you have to accept it. And even forgiveness, God's told you, you're forgiven, but people don't accept it. And so they feel that feeling nature of being downtrodden in some way. But it isn't so. It's only an idea that you can whisk away. If you don't think about it, you're not going to experience it. But if you do think about it, you're going to experience it. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And I like that you said you don't have to be anyone special, but the truth of the matter is you are to God. And once we grab a hold of that and realize that we have a valid say, that our say is a valid say, and we begin operating from our say, whatever that say is, we're on our way to the life of abundance that we desire. And abundance doesn't always just mean money. It could be a more loving relationship. It could be better health. Whatever that thing is that you desire, your salvation, that's the abundance. Would you agree?
Yep. And even if it's the money, that's fine. If that's what you're focused on, fine. There's nothing wrong with money. I mean, it has great potential. And it's offered. If you really knew what was offered every day to you to experience, if you would only think feelingly upon your dream come true. And that's go to the end. That's what Neville would always say, go to the end. Even that was difficult to do at first, but it does take practice. It does take repetition, reiteration. That's what it takes to actually form a basis to operate from. If they're going to shoot a rocket off, they have to build a base under it that's going to actually take that force and shoot it up. Otherwise, it would just blow a hole in the earth, wouldn't it?
It would.
So you got to get first things first. And the first thing is just be patient with yourself. Just lighten up. Look, you're the light of the world. That's what you're told. You're the light of the world. Well, lighten up. And that means actually lighten up. Because if you don't, you wind up in the hole. And it gets deeper and deeper. And that's depression. And I know what that is, too. I'm sure all of us do it sometime. But it's an attitude. If you take the right attitude and follow through with it, everything will work out fine. But you have to have the right attitude. I mean, that's what man's life is attitude. If you get that straight, the rest of it will just fall in line. Attitude awareness and imaginational control. That's it, isn't it?
Absolutely. You stated, you said, you go deeper in the hole. And the second you said it, the first thing that came to my mind was depression. And you said, and that's depression. And I want to touch on that. We all have different moods and things that we go through. So I don't want you to think it strange when you're encountering these moods, these states, these dispositions as it's only you. Many people will teach these principles or something similar, and they'll give you the impression that they don't go through anything. And so you think to yourself, I must be doing something wrong because why am I experiencing this? We face the same challenges you do. The goal is, as you face those challenges, is to rise above them, be lifted up in consciousness, and realize that the challenges can be changed as we change our thoughts and change our world. Would you agree?
That's it. That's exactly right. I mean, it says very plainly in Scripture, as you think you are. Well, what are you thinking about? Is it lovely and a good report? Well, then you can expect to receive lovely and a good report. But if what you're thinking about and you're expecting lesser than anything, that's what you receive. Lesser than whatever. But it's always up to the individual. I will do this, I will not do this. And you have to make the decision. We're here, actually what we're looking for are people who want to know first person, not just hearsay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with hearsay in general because there's a lot of good in it. But there's also a lot of negative. And it's up to you to choose this day. What? And understand this. I say this, but always this day. This day. Not a yesterday, not a tomorrow. This day. Choose. You're given. Choose. And that's God telling you, choose this day. What are you choosing? And you can say, well, I'm not really choosing. Then you're just going along with what's going on. And who do you have to complain to? If you're just going along with what's going on, what would you complain about? And if you do, you only get more to complain about, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so if we're operating from a place of lack, loss, limitation, if we're not financially where we want to be, then we have to look at what it is that we've given our attention to up until this point. Would you agree?
Yeah, God's not denying you anything. He's offering you anything, everything. All you have to do is ask. Believing is receiving. It's that simple. So what you need to work on is what you believe. And that's simple enough to do if you'll just sit in the silence and think about what we've been talking about in these talks for forever. Attitude, your attitude about life in general. You can always explore that. Just think about what is your attitude about life in general. Because that is what your daily experiencing of life is going to be made up of. And if it's not lovely and a good report, well, that's the trade-off for not thinking on things that are lovely and a good report. Attitude awareness and imaginational control, I don't think I can repeat that enough until you actually feel that it is you, first person, being talked to, being given the opportunity to change your mind, change your world. whatever you want to change. If it's money, change it. It's offered. It's free. All you have to do is ask. Believing is receiving. And I know someone says, well, there's the catch. What's that? Believing. You believe many, many things. And I'll tell you this, if you examine them, you'll find out that a lot of them are truly false. But that's up to you. You are the one. You are in charge. Take charge. Blame better than the best. That's all there is to it, isn't it?
Absolutely. You said, and I love it because I think that many people miss when it was said, so I'm going to repeat it. You said acts. Acting is believing is receiving. So what you're believing is what you're asking for. Whatever that belief is that you're holding as you think you are is your acts. Someone recently was talking about the wrongdoings of Rockefeller and Bill Gates. And I told her, I said, listen, I don't have time to go over the ills of society of a Rockefeller or Bill Gates. I said, I have my own stuff that I'm working on. So my goal is to be the best person I can be and not judge them for who it is that they were or who they are. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And you might be shocked to find out who you are.
It's true.
I could tell you it was a shock to me. But, we make all our own problems because we're told from Scripture that they themselves are makers of themselves. And that's everybody. Everyone is the maker of themselves. And how do you do that? As you think you are. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, and so is a woman. It's not about gender. It's not about special. It's about you think feelingly about what. I mean, I had to come to that conclusion that it was what I was thinking about, I was experiencing. And even though I had the proof of it over and over, still, I didn't really have the idea fully enough that I was actually in charge, even if I was out of charge. So get in step with your dream and follow through with it day after day after day. Because if you'll stand the ground, you'll see the victory, won't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You made me think about Brian Tracy. Years ago, I was listening to one of his audio programs, motivational speaker, trainer, so forth. And he was saying when he was younger, he said he had such a bad attitude, going back to what you said about attitude. He said, my attitude was so bad. But like you said earlier, many of us don't even see it. And it wasn't until he started to examine his attitude that his whole life was transformed, and of course he became a major speaker on the speaking platform, became very wealthy, business opportunities and so forth. But that didn't happen until Brian Tracy looked at Brian Tracy. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I do agree, because you're not even truly alive until you know who you are. So that should be top on your list, to find out who you are. And that's what it all leads up to, is you finding out who you truly are, your spirit. You're not body. You have a body, but it's not you. It's what you're using. And it goes back. The whole thing goes back to the earth, because that's where it came from. A handful of dust. So what are you doing with the gift that you already have? And the gift was given to you by God. Do you believe his promises? Do you know what his promises are? They're spelled out very plainly in Scripture. As you think you are, starts it off. That's your gift, as you think you are. That is the gift right there. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, absolutely. And going back to that, you often say down through the ages, what you've discovered about great teachers is that it's about your attitude. And something dawned on me. A poor attitude keeps you poor. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. How many times have you heard the fact that attitudes make your life? I mean, that your life is your attitude. I mean, how can you not see that? I mean, if you expect to get something, you'll get it. If you don't expect to get something, then you don't get it. It's that simple, isn't it?
It is that simple.
I can't imagine that people are so forgetful, and yet I'm forgetful. I forget things all the time. I don't make an issue of it, but I do. But I also remember. But not remembering past, but remembering future, because you're always thinking ahead of your evidence. So the thoughts you're thinking are being pushed off to be experienced down the line. So if you want a better life, it's now is the appointed hour of making up that new life that you really desire. And you're told, dream the dream. Follow through. Water it once in a while with your attention, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And you said something. You said, and most people don't use this, you said, remember future. And of course, what we call remembering the future, and you said it so many times, is vision. When you get a vision for what it is that you want to obtain in your life or who you want to be, you said people perish, quoting scripture, for a lack of vision. And when we remember future and we begin operating from a remembered future of who it is that we are, that's when transformation takes place. Would you agree?
That's it. That's it. That's the way it works. Look, you have a mind, and you're told you can control your mind. Why wouldn't you be about controlling your mind, since your mind is your world of experiencing? Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I was just letting you continue on because it was a very powerful string of thoughts. But absolutely, I definitely agree.
So it's really a first present tense experiencing that you're looking for, and when you begin to accept it and expect it, it's yours. But you have to accept it. God is giving everyone gifts, and gifts, but you have to accept them. See, that's the whole thing. If you're giving somebody a gift and they don't accept it, well, who's to blame for not experiencing the better and better in life? Because it's right there. It's offered. You're told this is the day of change. Well, if you're looking for change, right now is the time. And what you're doing is you're claiming being, and then in mind, in imagination, in the theater of mind, you're doing and being what you would be doing and being if it were now your dream come true. And if you'll do that often enough, suddenly it'll start feeling natural. And when it feels natural, it's yours. That's all you have to do, is just make your dream feel natural, and it's yours. I mean, that's what Scripture's been putting out for, thousands of years now, isn't it?
And you said it before, but I want to go back to it. First person, present tense experience. That's how you get it. And you say it so often that I believe that many people are missing it. Now, what I love history. I love hearing about his story. But this stuff doesn't work until it becomes your story. You can talk and quote every great teacher, every great leader, but until it becomes your experience, your life doesn't change because it still is someone's story out there. Would you agree?
That's it. You see, the body listens to you. So it's always taking its marching orders from what you say about you.